Hey guys, in this video I'll be showing you how to write massive drum intros for film trailers. Okay, so here we are. Here is my setup for my track Today, which was written for Mammoth Audio for their Stomp Swagger albums. I think this one was on the album Head Rush. Now this track was used in the trailer to Apple TV's The Banker. It's like the opening intro. Now that was what we were going for with these two albums. We did these. We called them Stomp Swagger albums. They're kind of going for kind of like cool comedy action intros where it's basically a mixture of clicks, claps, and massive drums. Now, you know, obviously once I start playing it, and if you've seen the trailer, you'll know how often you hear those. And what I just wanted to show you in this walkthrough was how I structure those type of tracks and how I develop it, because you know there's an art to writing this type of stuff. I mean, it's basically my trick for all of my trailer music, which is looping and layering to get the build and to get the development. It's very simple. Anyway, so here we go. Let's have a look. Let's dive in, guys. So what I've got here is I have 5 summed stems. So they're groups of instruments. So I've got drums here. Let's zoom out. So I've loosely called it drums, which was essentially like drum kits and kind of tom sounds. Stomps, which, you know, as you can hear, is it's from a library by That Sound. They do kind of like boutique drum libraries, and this one was stomps and claps. Overall, I've got mixed feelings about it, but I like the stomps, so there we go, and I like their claps too. And here we go, claps and snaps, which I used extensively, not in this track, but extensively over the album. And then I've got hits, which is, you know, the big booms, and then I've got this was just a drum machine. In fact, am I even using that one? Yeah, I am. Okay, right, so let's take a look at this in detail. So the way I would generally start this is I'm still thinking about my 3 acts. So Act 1, which is the intro, which sets the mood. Act 2, which suddenly introduces an element of pace or drama or tension or build. Act 3, which is where, okay, this is all of my guns blazing. This is what this track was about. Okay, so let's take a look. I generally started these tracks. In fact, I'm going to expand all of these tracks. There we go, so we can see the whole lot. There we go. What I might do for ease for you guys is I'm just going to quickly colour these so that you can see. I mean, for those of you who've done any of my trailer courses, you'll be tutting at me right now saying, Rich, why are your tracks not colour-coded already? And I'll say, yeah, I'm sorry guys, I was a bit lazy. Sometimes a deadline means that I forget to do some things, like colour coding, which annoyingly is actually really helpful when you're looking at a track. Here we go. There we go. So we have the drums in blue, stomps in purple, claps and clicks in orange, and hits in yellow. So the way I would start a track like this is small. So I would generally start with claps and snaps, these guys. So this is how this track started. So let's open up the piano. Oh, keys. There we go. Let's open up the piano roll. Okay, so you can hear, you know, obviously I've come up with an incredibly original idea here that no one's ever done before. It's just, I'm just keeping the beat. Okay, so let's have a listen to that intro again with the drums. I'm just using some taikos. So if we have a look at this, just use some taikos to emphasize the beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. And then I just develop it a little bit more. what I do there is I bring in some sticks and a small, I wouldn't say it's a roll, a small fill, dumpa, 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 to build into the next section. Now, you may have already noticed something here. The good old I wish this was easier to say. Schrieber swish. My own hits that I've created myself here. And those of you who've done my trailer music course, you'll know how much of an advocate I am of creating your own sounds because, well, no one else has them. I just use that swish hit to give us some scale immediately and to give us some emphasis. Now, if we move to the next section here, I've just got the sticks playing on my instruments here, which I believe are the Cerberus drums. And then a small build. Okay, so I mean, you can hear all I'm doing is just starting like this. Okay, and then da 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 da. I'm just looping and layering for Act 1. Okay, then obviously going into Act 2, I do a small drop because in these trailers. And the way these tracks are used, these drops are huge, and I don't mean like physically huge. They are really important for comedy because you'll see in the Banker trailer, this track drops. Samuel L. Jackson makes a joke, and that's what you've got to think about. So when you put these drops in, it's a comedy timing thing, usually, but you've got to still keep it going to bring in the next section. So I've keeping the beat with some clicks. So that's just kind of a swung rhythm here. So again, notice I've got this pattern here. Again, my piano guys, you'll know that patterns are huge. They're so important. Patterns, loops, ostinatos, whatever you call it, riffs. I'm a guitarist by nature, so riffs is my natural word. But this loop, this pattern, at the end of a 4-bar or 4-part repetition, just put a fill in. And then you add another swish hit, okay, to bring it back into the next section where you add another element, where you start to layer, which is this subtle layer there. And then, so Spitfire Audio, as part of their Labs project, released this library, their Spitfire Claps and Snaps, which I have to say I was hugely disappointed with because they kind of sound a bit rubbish. But in this instance, they're quite useful because it sounds like a drum machine, and that was what I wanted. For those of you wondering whose clicks I'm using here, I am using the Spitfire Clicks here. So, I mean, I think actually some of these samples were quite good, but I think what they've done is like, I'm going to get distracted, aren't I, and dive into a review of this. Some of them sound good on repetition like this, some of them don't, and it's just a matter of picking the samples. Anyway. Fill. Okay, so again here, what I did was, so instead of just going fill, 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 swish hit into the downbeat of the next bar, I did a swish hit, so we had a gap just before the next loop started. See that? Do ha, so that you've got this like pause, and it's really effective. That's one of my favourite things. When I was in a band, I used to love that stuff. We'd like 1, 2, 3, pause, in. Love it. Next section. Okay, so here I've got the that sound drums. Yeah, so they've got these claps recorded in a church, which sound great. That's what I love clap samples that either sound like infinitely close, or it sounds like you've got 30 people having a go at clapping on time, and they're not all in time, but that's the beauty of it. So now if we have a listen to the drums here. So you hear I'm layering a mixture of drums. These guys shouldn't be up here actually, that was bad stemming actually. Yeah. So I've got these cheeky drum machines hidden up here. So this whole album for me was written around Cerberus, Damage, and the Spitfire drums. So again, you can hear, if we just have a listen to them, let's have a look at them. So the way I would generally write these drum parts is I'm thinking, okay, the big drums, they're not going to, they're big and flabby. They're not going to be playing fast beats. They're going to be like emphasizing the bar. Ooh, like this guy. So we'll have a listen to this guy. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so he's just emphasizing the beat. Now these taikos, however, emphasizing the swing on the beat. Boom, 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 which is then emphasized by these cheeky little jerns who are just kind of like the metronome, mimicking the clicks and the claps. Now I like, in fact, I don't think like is a strong enough word. I blooming love Damaged Plastics. They sound fantastic, and they're so good at biting through all the other muddy taikos. You've got all these fantastic epic drums, but they sometimes all sound a bit like woo, 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 when you've got this guy going ka, 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 ka. Sounds amazing. So I use this guy as or girl. Yeah, I'm not sure. Either way. Or maybe it's a they. I use them to bring in interesting offbeat rhythms, or syncopation, for instance. Which I then backed up with Cerberus, Loose. Now they have these, I have to say I kind of fell in love with Cerberus while I was doing this, because they have these wonderful tom sounds that are, they have a loose kit and a tight kit, and the loose kit has that sound that I want, that kind of like, again, the ensemble playing slightly out of time, so you're getting this almost flam effect on all the beats. So here's the tight kit. So these guys mean the business, these are the pros playing on time, and then you've got these guys. Lots of me playing out of time. And then I've just got these cheeky, well, they're phasing a bit actually, cheeky sticks playing. And that's the drums, Hello. I actually think we're still in Act 2 in my mind. So what you'll notice if I do any more walkthroughs of these drum tracks is that my Act 1s are pretty basic, and I don't mean basic like, in the rude, insulting way. I mean like simple, although, yeah, probably the same. They're very simple. There's a drop, and then we go to Act 2. Act 2 is my longest section in these drum sets, because I want to build, These tracks are all about giving the editor a choice and a chance to build their intros. And then my Act 3, they don't really want a mess of drums, so I just kept it simple. And usually, as those of you who know my tricks, dropping into Act 3 for this type of stuff is a case of a drop. Have a listen. And a change. So rather than looping stuff, I've gone, okay, well, I'll loop a couple of things, like the sticks. But my Act 3, I usually use as like a separate building section in and of itself. So it's like Act 2 is all swaggery and awesome. And then Act 3 is like, hold on, I'm a bit different. And then it builds and it builds and it builds. And then it drops. And it usually happens over sort of 2 sections. Okay, so I haven't really dived in hugely into this because, I mean, I almost don't want to tell you how simple this is, but I really do. I really want to highlight to you guys that you can do this stuff. It's just a case of understanding timing, so the divisions of a bar. In fact, when I originally wrote this track, it wasn't swung. I just swung everything to make it sound a bit more interesting. But I just have the lower drums sort of on the beat. So my swish hits come in at the beginning of a section, sometimes halfway through a section. So if you have the, here we go, just introducing the new section. Oh. And then a couple of cinematic hits. There's some could argue, surely that sounds like it should go in my drum stem, which it probably should have done, but oh well. So there we go. I mean, those of you who've done my hybrid trailer music course, you'll understand that actually I often use swish hits as a way to structure a track, which you can kind of see here. 1 swish hit for the intro, 2 swish hits, and then I gradually increase the amount and frequency of the swish hits, and that is a kind of a microcosm of my writing style in general. Keep it minimal, gradually increase, throw everything in, done. Okay, so yeah, we've obviously got these things introducing the beat, which I used claps and clicks. And I like that throughout this album, these 2 albums, and all of these other drum albums I have done and will do, is the pace. Now, what you're trying to do with these tracks is, imagine it's a kind of a comedy, thriller, action, drama, sci-fi, fantasy. You kind of want it to be like, the editor will want something that has impact, boom, you'll swish hits, but they also want something that keeps the cue, keeps the scene moving in the lead up to a joke, in the lead up to a drop, in the lead up to a scare, or in the lead up to a change of pace of the trailer. And that's what you're doing here. Hey, who you calling Richard? My name's not Richard, my name's Steven. That type of thing. And then it's going to be like, anyway, check out my massive guns. And then it cuts to a scene of something else. You can see why I didn't get into screenwriting, or acting for that matter. But I hope that terrible analogy proved the case in point, that you're trying to give the editor something to pace the track. And also, you want it to sound cool. This comes back to, like I said, when I used to be in a band, the stuff that I liked was the stuff that I thought sounded cool. And when you see a band live, you'll be like, oh my goodness, that riff sounds amazing. Or, oh my goodness, that drum sounds amazing. Or, oh, these guys are so effortlessly cool. And that's what you want to try and get. If your track doesn't set you alight, and I don't mean, in spontaneous combustion, I mean doesn't get you excited, not like that, then it won't get someone else excited, because the energy you put into your track is the energy that someone else gets out of it. If you're just doing this because you want to make money, you're not going to be putting the right energy in. If you do this because you bloody love making music and you just love making cool sounds, then that is going to come out. Okay? I've kind of shown you there's nothing fancy going on here. It's all very simple, and you can even see that I've made mistakes. I've put tracks in the wrong stems, which I'm sure Jamie at Mammoth Audio would have corrected because he's a bit of a legend. But the point is, it's simple. Make it sound cool. Make it sound exciting. Make it sound something you would want to listen to or you would want to play. Now, I feel like I'm going off track a little bit, but this is how you can do this, okay? Go home. Actually, you're probably already home. Go to your studio if you're not already in your studio. Load up your DAW, not that DAW, your digital audio workstation. Load that up and load up all the drum sounds that you like. Now, that's how I set up my templates. I go, this sound is cool, this sound is cool, this sound is cool. I load them in, and then I put them into sums, or I just send them to groups in the mixer. And then you start small. What's the smallest sound I have? You know, it could be this. You know, you could be going kind of a Europop intro trailer if you want, but you find a small sound, and then you add dynamics to that small sound by adding in a big sound, i.e., big hits. If you've got your own, amazing. Otherwise, you can just load in some what are they called tree forest. You know the ones I'm talking about. Load in some ones you've already got, sample tracks or whatever, just to add dynamics to your track, and then gradually build it into the next section. Drop, and then bring in something different. Gradually build it, drop, change it, build it, drop. Now that's trailing music. Thank you. Okay, guys, now I would like to say thank you for watching, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do, because, you know, that's awesome. And please select like from the thumbs up down below. And obviously, if you want to know more about writing trailer music, you can watch more of my videos on YouTube. You can check out the Trailer Music School, where I host my courses and my membership. And yeah, any questions, post them down below, please. I'm quite happy to answer. I may take a while to reply, but I will try my best to reply, because I do want to help you guys get to the stage I am, which is where you feel confident in your writing skills, knowing that you can write something that will get chosen. Okay? Thanks for watching, guys. Ciao for now.